Almost a year ago, I made my second ranking video of the best creatures in Jurassic World Alive, and as with the first, you guys seem to enjoy the hell out of that video. And now, I usually tend to keep these things as a Christmas tradition, but I said fuck it, between now and Christmas, the meta is definitely going to change. So, here you go, Halloween special, the top 10 best creatures in Jurassic World Alive, done by yours truly, Tiger Plays. I wanted to give huge thanks to everybody who contributed to the making of this video. People like my friends, fellow Shores players, and people in Paleo.gg, all who wanted to help out in the ranking of this. I had so much useful information rallied over to me, and it really gave me more insight on just how diverse this meta has become. We've gotten to a point where we can use more than 8 creatures, and I think that's how the meta should be. It shouldn't really be confined to the same boring stuff. But definitely a huge shout out to everyone who contributed. I greatly appreciate all the information. This video was so fun to make, and I'm definitely going to be making more of these in the future. But without further ado, we got a ranking to do, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Starting this list off at number 10 is Trykovenator with 4,500 HP, 1,600 attack, 110 speed, 25% armor, and 20% crit. This creature has been slowly on the rise and in a way got an indirect buff. Now, what made it hit the number 10? Well, previously, it did very well against things like Megalocevia, Sah Panthera, Rajadorixis, Compsovenator even, and Cerastegotops if it didn't get stunned. However, what solidified its placement on number 10 was the introduction to Alankydactylus, currently debated as one of, if not the best current creatures in the game, and Trykovenator is looked at as a very good revenge killer or sweeper, having one of the best on escapes in my opinion, being able to completely invalidate Compsovenator and even counter it in a lot of cases. Trykovenator does have a lot going for it, however, what brings it down at number 10, or what just keeps it at number 10, is that there are so many other hard hitters in this game that can kind of do its job similarly. You got a lot of tankier creatures, a lot of more different creatures that can put out different kinds of output. So it's all kind of mix and match, and that's kind of why the meta has become now. But it is still a solid placement on this list and a solid placement on your team should you decide to get it. Now, while it hurts me to say this and put the placement here because it just does not feel right whatsoever, I gotta put the Lust King down, the Tiger, Sah Panthera, with stats of 4,650 HP, 1,700 attack, 128 speed, 10% armor, and 30% crit. Sah Panthera was hugely dominant in its prime, and some may have even considered it number 1. However, Concatalog quickly invalidated that faster than Queso can invalidate a triple Big Mac at McDonald's. But that's aside from the point. Now, lately, the meta hasn't really been too kind to Sah. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's shit because it's not even shit by any means. It is still a very good creature and a strong revenge killer. However, facts are facts, and, you know, they're like... However, the addition of Cerastegotops really hurt Sah Panthera's overall usage. But in my opinion, what really solidified the drop was the inclusion of Alankydactylus, which bumped up Trykovenator, which bumped down Sah Panthera. So that's kind of why it is at this placement. A lot of people just aren't really scared of Hunt on Escape anymore. They actually swap into it, hoping that you go for something like Trap or Rampage. So that's kind of why Sah is this low. That's not to take away from what Sah can do though. If you're in a wrong position where Sah has came in, they revenge kill you, or you swap in Cerastegotops or Draco Lux, they can just swap out into another creature that can kill that opposing threat, and then just come back in later when your team is hugely at a disadvantage and wipe your whole team, which is why I think Sah is still very good. And it's one of those hybrids that just love to play into that synergy role. However, gaining 2 swappers like that definitely can hurt its placement, and that's why it's where it's at. And before I sign off, I should probably bring up that tier 5. It's a very good tier 5 and not terrible by any means. However, the only reason why, again, I think it's just worse is because Megalocevia's tier 5 is more consistent than Sah's, whereas Sah's is kind of on a turn basis. So that's why. Number 8 is Magnaraptor, and while Magnaraptor and Sah are pretty much looked at as 2 peas in a pot when it really comes down to who the better cunning is, I regrettably have to give the edge to Magna. With solid stats of 4,200 health, 1,900 attack, 132 speed, No armor and 25% crit chance. Just like Sah, this creature dominated the leaderboards once it started making the rounds on people's teams. However, why is it number 8 and how did it get there? Well, originally I had this thing at number 6, but until I saw what kind of abominable troglodytes were infesting the meta, I backtracked that really quick. I'm going to get to the jump on why I think Magna is higher. I think it's just a little bit more usable in terms of what it can do. It's flexible in pretty much every situation, in my opinion. And by that, I mean you can open, you can close, you can revenge kill, you can swap even. With Sah, you're vulnerable with the swap, but with Magna, while you're also vulnerable, you're still dishing out more damage with that hit. So either way, you're benefiting off of it somehow. And that's kind of what leads me to my next point. It's a little bit, has a higher fear factor in my opinion. People have grown more accustomed to swapping on Sah, just having it be a bit more predictable and not really too scared. However, a lot of people just don't really, or rather, a lot of people are more scared to swap on a Magnaraptor because it's going to just hit you very hard, and since it has that added fierce component, it's going to get through your defenses quite easily, especially if they're on threat and they're going to heal their health up. And if they even if you swap on Flock of 1, they're going to replenish their health entirely, which is why I even put this thing above Sah in my opinion, was just the added fear factor. But facts are facts, a fear factor is not going to do much when you have a lot of counters in the game, and that's why Magnaraptor has dropped significantly. The meta lately has not been too kind to Magna, and with the introduction slowly to Megalocevia, Cerastegotops, Rajadorixis, Compso, Alankydactylus, these are all creatures that can just one-tap it in a single turn. Even stuff like Sah can do that, so it sucks that Magnaraptor had to drop this low, but it's still a very good creature regardless, and I do think if it's on your team, it should stay there just for a little bit more until we get more hard-hitting apexes, but definitely by no means a shitty one at that. Speaking of Megalocevia, that's exactly who we're putting at number 7, the piss croc himself. Megalocevia, with stats of 5,100 health, 1,600 attack, 121 speed, 20% armor, and 20% crit. This little bastard has contributed to both Sah and Magnaraptor's downfall, which is why it's up here at number 7, but there's also a couple things along with it that contributed. One of them being full rend immunity, which makes it not Gryganyth's food anymore. Gryganyth can't really swap on you like it could, because I've seen in some cases they actually can die if they play incorrectly. So that's what's funny. And again, Draco Lux can't swap on you either because it has a harder time due to that extra armor buff. So I think they need to be around tier 4 to do it, which is pretty nuts to think about. And that's kind of the whole point why it's even above both Sah and Magna. It just has better head-to-head matchups going for it. It wipes its ass with a lot of the creatures on this team that are like really meta-defiant. Magna, Sah, Compsovenator, Alankydactylus, sometimes Draco Lux, sometimes Gryganyth. So it's a very good sleeper pick and something that I'm considering even using now, which is crazy to think about. I can't believe I slept on this thing for so long, but now that it's kind of made its way into people's teams and I've been told about it a lot more, I think that it's definitely a good creature to put on your team, but that's just a matter of opinion. It feels so incredibly wrong putting Draco Lux in at number 7. But I swear, guys, there's a good reason why I put it at number 7. I said number 7, right? No, it's number 6. I'm like the last person that should be making a list, but you know what? Screw it. Draco Lux, 4,950 HP, 1,700 attack, 128 speed, 15% armor, and 15% crit. This is just a solid creature. It's the definition of solid. It's got, in my opinion, one of, if not the best swap moves in the game, along with the best turn 1 and 2 combo. This creature is just a huge hard hitter and a very good one at that. I did have this a little bit lower than Sah, but a couple things swayed my mind. And that was the fact that it can kind of deal with the flock problem we're starting to get into now. It can swap in on creatures like Sah, Magna, kill them and get them out of the way. I don't see this thing dropping anytime soon, but if we start getting more afflict resistant things, we're definitely going to start having a problem here with the Draco Lux, and I think it's going to just start falling from people's teams. But like I said previously, very solid creature. Definitely go for it while you can. I think that I might be leveling it up, but we'll see what the meta looks like from about 2 or 3 weeks from now. But definitely go for your Draco Lux. Yeah, baby, we're getting into the top 5. Let's go. That's what I've been waiting for. Anyway, top 5, Cerastegotops with 5,500 HP, 1,700 health, 124 speed, 15% armor, and 10% crit. This creature is just so good of a creature. It's so versatile. It has a lot going for it, so much good output. It's almost impossible to swap on this creature. Something like Gryganyth, for example, if it swaps in on Intimidating, Wounding, Impact, it's probably going to take a hit there. If it goes for Maximum Ferocity, it's probably going to get stunned. So it really just depends on RNG a little bit, but I'd say Gryganyth can die in some situations if it's not careful. You just don't want to swap on it. You need to bring it in a head-to-head matchup to kill it. It can definitely bail you out of a lot of situations, especially with like armor swap-in. That is a very good swap-in, and it's kind of the reason as well why Sah Panthera has started to drop, because people have been getting more comfortable swapping in on this and making the Sah run. Piercing Headbutt, very good counter, and especially bleed immunity, one of the best things about it as well. So definitely a solid choice for your team should you decide to go for it, and it's definitely one that I'm excited to get my hands on as well. Coming in and out number 4 placement is Rajadorixis with 5,100 health, 1,650 attack, 124 speed, 20% armor, and 30% crit chance. This creature has been on the rise, and oh my god, is it a good creature. So, what makes it so good? Unlike Cerastegotops, this thing is a very good starter, and that's what I've seen a lot of people start it off as, but it's also a very deadly closer. It's a creature that, no matter what, it's going to either kill something or get them in revenge kill range, which is better in some cases, but it's just a nuke. It can stall you out. It's one of the, you get the benefit of trapping whatever they start with, and you have the option to swap out if you have a good swapper. It completely invalidates Magna and Sah, kills Gryganyth. It's a reliable counter to that, and it can beat Compsovenator in some situations, can beat Draco Lux as well. Some situations can beat Cerastegotops from what I've seen, but it just has good survivability, and you're not going to be dying with it anytime soon unless you're stupid. The on escape, one of the best on escapes, if not the best on escapes in the game, just guarantees that you get a hit off no matter what, and they can't do nothing about it. And it just invalidates a lot of the other 8 creatures, and for that reason it is number 4. The only other creature in this game that can actually just kill it in some cases is the Alankydactylus. However, it is a very long matchup, and I think you even saw in my video. It took about 6.5 minutes for even me to get to that point of killing Rajadorixis, but it's still a very good creature nonetheless, and definitely go for it. It's here to stay for a good long while. The third placement on this list is Compsovenator, something that previously competed for the top 1 or 2 placements, but now has bumped down to number 3, unfortunately. With 3,900 health, 1,500 attack, 130 speed, and 35% crit, this thing fixes a lot of the issues that its parent had, and boy does it do its job well. The introduction to Alankydactylus did drop it down. However, that being said, it still does a very good job at doing the combos that it wants to do. It wants to run into a lot of creatures. It wants to swap in, deal damage, cleanse, it's just such a valuable creature to have on your team. The only reason why it's number 3 and not, number 2 or 1 is because there's more counters to it that can kill it instantly, similar to the case of Magnaraptor. You have Megalocevia, Cerastegotops, Rajadorixis, and Alankydactylus, all of which can either swap in or just kill it in head-to-head outright. That being said, it is still a very solid creature and one that you should definitely look forward to having on your team. It's not terribly expensive to get because its DNA has been just sold everywhere, but I definitely do recommend going for Compsraptor if you can get it. It's going to help you out in the long run, and it's going to do its job very, very well. I know for a fact I'm going to get so much hate on this placement, but I'm placing Alankydactylus at number 2 on the list. And before I get into why it's number 2, I'm going to go over the stats. It has 4,400 health, 1,400 attack, 122 speed, 25% armor, and 5% crit. And I originally had this thing lower on my list, but because of the change to Dragon's Breath and now being a rally heal, definitely cemented its spot, and now it's just shot up in the ranking. Mainly because it's so easy to get, and it's just a very versatile creature, can do its job very well. It can come in, do huge amounts of damage, tank, sweep, come back later, heal, and then heal again. It's just, I think I've only ever seen it die once or twice, maybe 3 times max. But that should say something considering just how good this is, and if you're not convinced, it beats pretty much almost all of these creatures. Trykovenator being one of its biggest counters, along with Gryganyth, and it can kill Compsovenator instantly. It just invalidates pretty much Compso, Sah, and Magna. Only your biggest worries are Tryko, Megalocevia, and Gryganyth. Some cases you can kill Cerastegotops, Some cases Draco Lux can kill you, but aside from that, it's such a good utility creature and one that you should definitely focus on getting. I myself have unlocked it, so expect something on that soon. But that being said, just Alankydactylus is just one of the best creatures, and I can talk about it a little bit more in our number 1 spot. Here we go. I finally hit that spot on the list, that good old number 1 placement, and who's taking it? None other than Gryganyth, with 5,200 health, 1,750 attack, 123 speed, 10% armor, and 20% crit chance. Yeah, this creature, in my opinion, is still number 1, but it's very close, and it's for a few reasons. Ever since the Concatalog nerf, this creature just shot up, and it just goes to show what the loss of one creature does to the next. And since then, it just kind of opened the gateway for a lot. But the thing that cemented this place in number 1 for me was that it can reliably kill Alankydactylus. All of Alankydactylus's main attacks are completely invalidated by everything Gryganyth has to offer. It's immune to the bleed, it's fairly resistant to vulnerability. It can hit all, it can heal, it can bleed, it's got the counter, so everything Alankydactylus does, Gryganyth can just find a way to answer that. And even before Alankydactylus came in, Gryganyth was already considered the best creature in the game. So I think just having Alankydactylus come in and then Gryganyth killing that almost every time, being able to swap on it reliably, just keeps it at that number 1 spot. And other notes to take into account is just that it's so easy to keep alive for the entire match. I've seen times where Gryganyth has used maximum ferocity 2 or 3 times, which just goes to show you how versatile and how tanky it is. Again, it counters Alanky pretty much all the time, and it's the whole reason why Concatalog isn't around anymore. Concatalog's nerf was pretty bad, but Gryganyth now shooting up and just doing to Concatalog what it did to it is also another reason why it's so good. And again, Cunnings aren't really that prevalent in the meta. We've only got like Magnaraptor, Sah, and Rajadorixis, only 2 of them being able to like kill Gryganyth consistently, and it just gives it huge leeway. And the fact that we're in a fairly bulky meta, if you really want to call it that, also just gives Gryganyth that extra boost and what makes it number 1 in my opinion. Fuck me, I finally finished the list. That took so long. It took about like 2.5 hours. I was just constantly like redoing what I was saying. I hope I wasn't yapping too much, but I think I got the point across. And if you stuck around for this long, this is the bonus section. So as you can see from this chart right here, the meta has only slightly changed since 2021 when I made that last video. And I can't believe it's only been since 2021 when FourEightyFive, Inditaurus, and Scorpius were the most dominant. It's felt like way shorter than that, but time flies when you got this stuff over here. And then in 2023, when I made the last clip, you know, we got stuff like a Moloch, Clever Girl, Stegosaurus, you know, a little more uniques to spice it up. And then 10 months later, 2024, you just get the whole Apex roster over here, just the whole Spider Society type shit when it comes to Apexes. But I'm excited to see what they bring in store for the future. I hope they make these Apexes a little bit more easy to obtain, because it's not fun for my resources at all. But let me know what you guys thought of this list. You know, could I have changed anything, done something different? Just let me know your placements. I'd be happy to hear all of them, and I'll definitely try to do more of these in the future, because these are really, really fun to make. But without further ado, that's going to be a wrap on this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Tiger Plays, and I hope you all have a good one. Happy Halloween.